Precious here again. We are progressing smoothly, and to use your cascading style sheets or CSS, you need to learn how to add the CSS to your HTML document. If you remember, our previous HTML documents were all ugly. So you need to add your CSS sheets or CSS file or CSS declarations to be able to beautify your HTML documents. And there are three ways to add your CSS to your HTML document. The first one is the external CSS, the second one is the internal CSS, and the third one is the inline CSS. And we are going to look through everything right now. So let's go to our editor. Please note that I have changed my editor from the basic notepad to Visual Studio Code, and I would advise that you download it. If you want to download Visual Studio Code, just search for it in your browser like this. And when the page comes up, just click on the first link that you can find there, Visual Studio Code, and download for Windows. If you're on an iMac computer, it's going to show your computer system. It detects it automatically. So please download Visual Studio Code so you don't get lost or feel left out while I work with my CSS document. So let's go back to what we are here to do. So this is my CSS folder. I don't have an index.html yet, so I'll create one. So index.html has been created, and let's start. So we have to declare our doc type. Remember this from the last class. Then opening HTML tag and closing HTML tag. Then inside you have the head, and you have the body. And inside of the head, you have your title, how to add CSS. I don't want to waste much time on this, so let's save. So remember I said the very first way to add your CSS is through the external style sheet. So to add your external style sheet, you have to create a new document called style.css. You can name it anything, but ensure that this document ends with .css. That is the document type for CSS document. So now that I've created my style sheet, let's create some HTML tags. If you have noticed, I like using my name a lot, so document H1 Precious Irieho. Then I'll create an H2. I believe you know what all this does, H1, H2, a very great programmer. So I'm going to copy this file, the path, so that I can open it in my browser. Now you see we have our basic HTML documents, not pretty like it always look like. But now remember, the first way to add CSS is through the style sheet, the external style sheet. So to be able to reference this external style sheet, you have to create a link element. It's a self-closing element, and two attributes are important. The very first attribute is the relative attribute, and here you will say style sheet, and the second one is going to be the href to where your style sheet is, and mine is in style.css. Now I've linked both files together, so I can apply my style sheet inside of the CSS. Please don't be lost that I'm doing some things you don't understand. Just follow through. You are going to understand what is happening shortly. So H1 tag, then I'm going to change the color of the H1 tag to, let's say, yellow. Save, and let's reload the browser. Oh, sorry, there's a W missing. So let's reload the browser. You see, I've been able to target the H1 element and turn the color to yellow. We can also do something. We can give it a background color of, let's say, black. You see, and all this is being done inside of the style sheets away from the index HTML. So this is how to apply your style sheets as an external CSS. And as you can see, H1 is a block level element. That's why the background takes the entire length of the page. The second way to apply your CSS is to use the internal style sheet. The internal style sheet is when you go into the head tag and you create a style tag like this in the head tag, and now we're going to target the H2 element. So all this is done inside of the index HTML document. That is why it is called internal style sheet. So H2, let's change the color of the H2 from black to red, and let's give it a background color of yellow. Save, and let's reload our page. As you can see, we've been able to target the style from the internal document, from the index HTML document itself. The last but not the least is the inline CSS. Let's create a new tag, H3. Let's say, I love to code. To apply the internal style sheet, you have to create a style attribute inside of the elements like this. Style is equal to color. Let's give this a color of, let's say, brown. And let's give this a background color of pink. Save this and reload the page. As you can see, we've been able to target our different elements using the external style sheets in the case of the H1, the internal style sheets in the case of the H2, and the inline style sheets in the case of the H3. But I would advise that when you are programming, please make use of the external style sheets or the internal style sheet. In worst case scenario, that's when you should use the inline style sheet, because as you can see, it's making our code look ugly. So that is that on how to use CSS. I'll see you in the next class. Thank you.